Hello and welcome to the Investing on the Go podcast brought to you by FundCalibre. I'm James Yardley and today I'm joined by Luciano Diana, elite rated manager of the Pictet Global Environmental Opportunities Fund. Luciano, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Now, Luciano, one of the key differentiators of this fund is its use of the planetary boundaries framework. Can you explain to us what that is?
Sure. The planetary boundary framework is a scientific framework developed by the Stockholm Resilience Center. It was first published in 2009 in the Nature magazine. And it tells us that there's 9 dimensions that are really important for the environment and the planet. Climate change is one of these 9 dimensions, but there's other very important ones like biodiversity, like the water cycle, the chemical pollution, the nitrogen cycle. And each one of these dimensions has a boundary that the ecosystem should not cross if we want to avoid non-linear and unpredictable change.
Why did you choose to use it as part of the investment process for this fund? How does it fit in exactly?
So we launched the strategy roughly 5 years ago, and we wanted to have an investment universe that really captured all the dimensions of the environmental challenges that we have. And this framework was the perfect one. So we used it to identify around 400 companies around the world that then constitute our investment universe, and then we will we pick to create a portfolio. It's a central piece of our investment process.
And I think one thing which is quite interesting about your fund is it's not all about climate change, isn't it? I mean, it's much bigger than that. Which one of these 9 environmental challenges do you personally feel the most passionate about?
So I started my career on the sell side, covering clean energy, roughly 15 years ago. So I've focused a lot on climate change over the years. But these days, I would say I feel very passionate about biodiversity, because I feel that there's a lot more that we have to do on the science front to understand the link between the loss of biodiversity, which we are experiencing, and the economy. And I'm passionate because it really touches my life. It touches everyone's life. Just came back from some holiday in Corsica over the summer, and I was swimming for an entire week. I think I saw 3 fish. The environment around us is changing a lot, and I think it's really important for investors and the public to be much more aware about biodiversity compared to a few years ago.
Yes, I see your chart here in your presentation, which our listeners can't see, but in terms of biodiversity, we've smashed through the planetary boundary limit for that. So is it already too late, or can we actually do something about this?
I think if we are not careful, there's some areas of the planet like the Amazon where we could reach some tipping points and that it will be too late. But by and large, I'm optimist, and I think that we have the technology tools to address some of these issues. But the problems are serious, and we shouldn't underestimate how serious they are.
And many people think that in order to have principles, you have to sacrifice some of your investment returns. Is that the case?
Our strategy has outperformed the global equity markets for the 5 years of its existence, and has clearly also had a positive environmental impact. In our view, there is no trade-off. In fact, investing in an environmental theme is a good way to invest in global equities. It's just selecting companies that are benefiting from a tailwind in terms of policy, in terms of demand, and at the same time avoiding companies that will suffer from headwinds. So it's just a very reasonable and a smart way to invest.
And your fund, it's not just about looking for companies that are not just behaving well, but actively helping to solve environmental challenges. Can you give us a couple of examples of such companies which are doing this?
Yes, and so developing environmental solutions is really the focus of the fund. It's not enough to be a good citizen, and so to adopt technology, we look for the technology providers. So a couple of good examples, which may not immediately come to mind when we think about the environment, could be software companies that are involved in virtualization. So one is ANSYS, it's a US-based company, and their software helps to simulate physical processes. And by simulating processes, a manufacturer can design and manufacture and test the product very efficiently, so saving a lot of raw materials. And so that's for us an example of an environmental technology which helps the resource efficiency of the economy as a whole.
Yes, I mean, it's something you don't really think about, but actually it's very important.
Yeah, absolutely. So technology is very important. Another example, also maybe US-based, could be Ecolab. Ecolab is a company that provides solutions for industrial clients as well as hotels and restaurants to manage their water properly. So they help the recycling of the water, the processing, and more this will be crucial when we think about hotels in Las Vegas. In 20, 30 years, 40 years time, they will all have to be self-sufficient from a water perspective, because there is not going to be much water in Las Vegas. And a company like Ecolab is going to give the technology to do that.
Now, as you mentioned earlier, you previously headed a sell-side clean energy team, a team of people whose job it was to sell clean energy investment ideas to fund managers. How has the clean energy business changed and evolved over the years, and where do you see it going in the future?
So when I started on the sell side roughly 15 years ago, the investment universe that we were looking at was relatively narrow. So it was a lot about solar and wind technologies. And over the years, these technologies have definitely evolved and improved in terms of cost effectiveness. But the main trend has been that the universe has diversified. And so the way that we approach environmental investing today is much broader than just renewables. Renewables is only one answer to one particular problem, which is the energy transition. But then there's many more technologies that we can invest in today that we didn't really think about. So clean energy has evolved and become much more, quote unquote, also mainstream. And we don't necessarily talk about energy. We talk about environmental technologies.
And what made you change sides, so going from selling clean energy ideas to fund managers to actually being a fund manager yourself? And does that give you an extra insight into asking questions about potential investments?
The move from sell side to buy side, so from being an analyst to being a portfolio manager, is relatively a natural move. So you go from giving recommendations to someone to actually taking the decision yourself. So it was very natural for me. The additional edge, personally, is that I have seen quite a number of companies also fail. So I can say that I'm very conscious of, in our world, of the risk of being taken by the hype of certain technologies that might sound great, but then they're not ready for the market. And so the number one priority is always to invest in a good business, as opposed to invest in a business that sounds good, but might not be ready, might be too early. And I think that's an important edge to have.
Luciano, that was very interesting. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you to our listeners for listening. I'm James Yardley, and if you'd like to listen to more of our Investing on the Go podcasts, please subscribe to FundCalibre. Please remember we've been discussing individual companies to bring investing to life for you. It's not a recommendation to buy or sell. The fund may or may not still hold these companies at your time of listening.